Hey friend, do you like awards? Do you like video game awards? Oh, you don't? You think they're pointless and arbitrary and just boil people's piss? Oh, well, tough, because the Jimquisition Game of the Year Awards 2015 starts now! Now! The Jimquisition Game of the Year Awards are the most prestigious award event in the game industry, and anybody who says otherwise is a liar. Usually we pick 5 games. 5 games that each get a Game of the Year award. No categories, no specialer than thou, just 5 games that I think speak to me as the epitome of what made that year great. This year, we're doing 6. Oh yeah, we're breaking all the rules. Rules that I arbitrarily made up, but they're still rules, and they're still being broken, just like in that Judas Priest song. The one about breaking the rules. So let's, without further ado, kick things off right now. Let's rock it in there with a game that's leagues above a whole bunch of others. I am, of course, talking about Rocket League. I'm not a fan of sports games at all, and there are only a few racing games that could hold my attention, so it speaks volumes about Rocket League that I consider it one of the best games of the year. It's a soccer game, but you're cars, and you race around the pitch trying to smack the ball into the opposing goal using flips and stunts. The concept is simple, and in practice, it's beautiful. One of the best multiplayer experiences you could hope to find this year, Rocket League's tight physics and nail-biting tension has had me on the edge of my seat and roaring in triumph whenever I get to score a goal. It's actually turned me into a yelling football hooligan this year, so invested in it I've been. It's a chaotic affair, but there's a unique elegance to the anarchy, a purity that comes from having cars smash around a big field and hitting balls. It's good, honest fun, basically, and you simply can't have enough of that these days. These awards have only just begun, but you won't need a guide to get you through them. It's time for award number 2. The Beginner's Guide. The Beginner's Guide is an affecting experience. It's not for everybody, certainly not for those who sneer at walking simulators in their entirety. However, this introspective look at game design and how we interpret meanings behind people's art has had a significant impact on many of those who've given it a go, myself included. It did, in fact, lead to one of my very best pieces of written work, where I simply opened up about myself as a creator, the past struggles that have influenced me, and how they dictate my actions as a person today. The Beginner's Guide brought that out of me, that raw honesty that I'd never felt quite comfortable throwing into the public eye before. To say more about The Beginner's Guide as a game is to give too much away, which is why I always talk about its effect rather than its content. It made me think of myself as a creator of entertainment. It made me think about how I handle criticism. It made me think about why I do the things I do. It bored into me in an affecting way, a way so few games have ever come close to doing. It's fascinating, it's almost brutal, but it is, ultimately, one of the finest and most provocative interactive experiences out there. You know, there are some games I could start talking about, like, late at night, and I won't be stopped talking about them until dawn. Oh yes, our next Jimquisition Award goes to the unique horror stylings of Until Dawn. Until Dawn isn't a game I expect to see on many lists, but as a horror fan, this one is an absolute beaut. Inspired heavily by the movies of the 90s and early 2000s, it's got a lot of Scream in there, some Saw, and a few 80s classics like Friday the 13th. It's a self-aware, sometimes delightfully cheesy horror game that deals with cause and effect in a damn clever way, providing some actual consequence for your actions, rather than the usual smoke and mirrors other games provide. It's set up like a Quantic Dream game, except it's well written and has engaging characters, and it's actually effing good. It's clear this was made by people people who really understand horror, what makes it both brilliant and silly, and Until Dawn embraces both those aspects without shame, featuring some tense action sequences, interesting adventure game elements, and a range of amazing performances, including a hammy term from Peter Stormare, I love him. I never get his name right. Until Dawn demonstrates how big-budget horror still has a place in the industry, and its subsequent critical and commercial acclaim is a great thing for the genre overall. It's the only console game that's really come close to Quantic's ideal of making a video game that feels like a movie, thanks to a savvy studio that actually understands both cinema and gaming and uses both to fantastic effect. Our next Jimquisition Award goes to a game you can really get down with. It's that well made. It's Downwell. These puns are fantastic. As an obsessive lover of The Binding of Isaac, my craving for fast-paced permadeath games featuring randomized upgrades and permanent unlockables is never sated. Downwell is fantastic as an alternative to Isaac, something with a quicker pace, but it's just as satisfying. It's all about descending downwards, well, that's what descending means, using the guns on your boots to shoot at the enemies in your way while collecting gems. It's tough as nails and has the kind of unquittable quality of other challenging rapid-fire games like Super Hexagon. This is a game that almost made me poo myself. I wanted one quick game before going to the bathroom, but 5 games in and I was fit to burst but unable to stop. I didn't actually poo myself, but it was tough. It nails the kind of challenge that infuriates in a way that makes the player want to keep fighting it rather than simply giving in. And for its price, it'll keep its hooks in you for hours and hours and hours. It's earned all the applause it's gotten this year because Downwell most certainly deserves to have gone down well. You won't need to be a skilled hunter to track down the next award. In fact, you can probably feel this one in your blood. It's time to talk about Bloodborne. I don't think anybody doubted Bloodborne would be getting a Jimquisition Award this year. From Software took the Dark Souls core and gave it some steroids, making a faster, more aggressive game about ducking and weaving, creating opportunities, and seizing weakness in a desolate and devastated world. I realise I made it sound a lot like Dark Souls there, but it's faster. Perhaps From's bleakest Souls game yet, Bloodborne adds cosmic horror to the city of Yharnam, a gothic, faux Victorian realm in which hunters fill themselves with monstrous blood and face ever more terrifying beasts. In my mind, Bloodborne is just as much a survival horror as it is an action RPG, and remains one of the most intense, terrifying games I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Its bestiary of nasties is truly grotesque, its boss battles are huge and unforgettable, and the lore is as engrossing as it is eerily confusing. While it lacks the range of weaponry and customization found in Dark Souls, Bloodborne gains a sense of refinement and complexity to what it offers, a trade-off that ultimately makes for a sleeker and more polished adventure. To quote me from earlier this year, Bloodborne is as glorious as it is grotesque, a harsh and unyielding exercise in getting battered mercilessly while feeling encouraged the whole painful way. Bloodborne is something truly special, a barbaric horror RPG that will giveth and taketh away in perfect measure, wrapped up in a perverse world that will refuse to let you go. We've got one more award to give out, and what could it be? What game could round off such a fantastic list of excellent games from this past year? Well, I feel like the weight of my sins would crawl on my back if I didn't include this one, so it is with great determination that I proudly, adamantly give the final Game of the Year award to The Order 1886. I mean Undertale. Undertale. Yes, Undertale. The best RPG I've played in years. A game full to the brim with eccentric humour, moments of genuine heartwarming, a truly incredible cast of characters, and some very special twists indeed. It's a game in which you can kill enemies just like any other random battle RPG, and yet you're encouraged to take the merciful path, finding ways to talk your way out of combat and spare the lives of the confused monsters who stand in your way. Whatever you do, Undertale never forgets. It tears the fourth wall to pieces. It knows what you've done, even if you decide to write over your previous actions. It's up there with Psycho Mantis or Arkham Asylum's Scarecrow when it comes to gameplay that truly screws with the player and subverts their expectations. All this, and the game itself, is damn fine stuff at a fundamental level, combining turn-based combat with bullet hell in a supremely clever way. Earthbound fans will feel right at home with this weird, wonderful role player that manages to be silly and somber at the same time. And the soundtrack, oh good heavens me, the soundtrack. I'd go on record as saying it's soundtrack of the goddamn year. The complexities woven deeply into this initially unassuming RPG are enough to keep you invested long after you've watched the end credits for the first time. It's been a long, long time since this style of RPG has grabbed me in the way Undertale has, and even longer since a small independent effort has been so ambitious, impressive, and unquestionably successful. Most importantly, you can date a skeleton if you want. You can date the shit out of a skeleton. Oh, Undertale is effing amazing. And those are the Jimquisition Awards 2015. Now, I didn't have time to include everything. There are honourable mentions. This year goes to The Witcher 3, of course, a fantastically huge game that has already won many Game of the Year awards from other places, and I can't argue with it. It's huge, it's detailed, CD Projekt Red really respects its customers, they provided a game that was a real service as well as an experience. Just a fantastic game all around. And Splatoon, similar, that just took a unique spin on multiplayer shooters and has just been endless fun, very addictive, very hard to put down. A beautiful game, gorgeous to look at, great original visuals, and the combat is just tons of fun. There are my honourable mentions. There are, of course, other games as well that came out. It's been a good year for games. 2015 was a great year for games. Games as entertainment, not so good for games as the business side of things, for games as business. A lot of bad stuff happened there, but we're not talking about the bad this week. That's next week. But that's next week. Until then, let's just all enjoy and revel in the positivity. And I hope you enjoyed my picks, even if you didn't agree with all of them. Feel free to give your favourite games this year a shout out in response. I'm sure I won't be able to argue with many of them. And yeah, that's that. Hope you enjoyed the awards show. And just settle back, enjoy the holidays, and of course, thank God for me. And them 6 games what I mentioned. If you haven't played any of them, seriously, do check them out. They're quite good. They won a Jimquisition Award, have you heard? That's prestigious. Ooh, shit, I forgot to give an honourable mention to Xenoblade Chronicles X. Shit. Ooh.